Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. We're going to give it about 2 minutes just to give time for people to get into the webinar, and then we will go ahead and get started today. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon and a happy Tuesday. We'll give it about 1 more minute just to get everybody time to get into the webinar today, and then we will go ahead and get started. All right. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Manage Social Media on a Limited Budget, featuring Union Bank and Trust. My name is Jenny Tukeski. I am the Programming and Communications Manager here at the Better Business Bureau. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping things just to let you know about. We are recording today's webinar, and the reason for this is so that way in the long run, we have this presentation material on file and that we're able to share it with you and also for future reference as well too. There will be a follow-up email that goes out to you within 24 to 48 hours with not only a link to this webinar, but also the presentation materials that are discussed today. Lastly, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer those questions throughout the presentation today and make sure that we get to all the questions by the end. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. Creating a strong online presence doesn't have to break the budget. In today's webinar, business owners will learn simple, cost-effective social media strategies to boost visibility, engage customers, and create impactful content free and using the free and affordable tools out there. You'll discover ways to build a social media plan that supports your business goals while also staying within your budget. It is my pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker, Bree Pry, Digital Marketing Coordinator at Union Bank and Trust. Bree leads the planning and execution of the bank's social media strategies and brings more than 10 years of experience in social media marketing, working with organizations of all sizes and with all budget levels. Since 2017, she has also served on the board of American Marketing Associations in Lincoln. So, Bree, thank you so much for being with us today, and it is all yours.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and get my presentation here pulled up. Okay, so let's get this into present mode if I can figure out how to slideshow right there. Okay, so slowly but surely, hopefully this will load. There we go. So thank you everyone for joining. Jenny gave me a really great introduction. Here's just a couple more little fun tidbits about me. So I've been on the AMA board for this will be in July will be my 10th board year, which is insane. I am a military wife, currently going through the military wife life. My husband is gone right now, so it's great. I have two really beautiful children here in this photo, and I am a self-proclaimed nacho lover. Okay, let's see here. So I've given this presentation a few times, and I think that it works pretty good if I have some like feedback on like what specific things that you want help or have questions on. So definitely feel free to leave some information in the chat that you want to hear about specifically, because I would love to like help answer something that you are are struggling with right now or need help with right now. So I'll kind of go through some of these slides here before if you want to put your information in the chat, and we'll get to that. So the first thing I always tell everyone who is worried about social media is it is hard. It's hard for me. I've been doing this for so long, and it's still hard for me. Like even just today, we had questions about an ad and the spend and why the impressions are higher than the ad was before. And I looked at my coworkers and I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you. Who knows what Meta did? I've got nothing, but like something changed clearly, and we're getting more bang for our buck. So, don't think I maybe this is a little bit later, but so it might be a spoiler, but don't think that you need to go in to social media like 100% perfect. Everything's going to be, you have to do everything right because it's hard no matter what you do. It's hard for me, and I've been doing it forever. So, we're prefacing all of this with social media is just hard, period. Okay, let's go to the next one. So I am a very strong believer, and I have this fight quite often, that social media is not for selling. It just isn't. It's so hard to prove ROI for social media because you're not, like, the point is you're not selling on social, or you shouldn't be often. So it is a hard sell to stakeholders when they're like, what is social media getting us? You're like, I don't know. But really, the value of social media is brand awareness and just spreading the message about your brand or your organization or your people or your cause, whatever. It is definitely strictly brand awareness. That's how I look at it. That's how I tell everyone, social media is. I often have to remind stakeholders that, that's just what it is. And I have all these impressions and they're really great. And I hear stories about people who say they saw XYZ on social. So keep that in mind too. Social media is just not for selling. It's, mostly a place to build your brand and your credibility. So how do you make an impact with little to no budget? So I, like Jenny said, I've worked at multiple organizations of multiple different budget levels. My first social media job, I had a $60,000 annual social media budget, which is absolutely insane. I will never have that kind of budget ever again, I don't think. And then the second place I worked at, my budget was literally like $600 a year. It was next to nothing. And now at UBT, it kind of fluctuates a little bit because other departments help with my budget, but my actual social budget is about $6,000. And I know I am so lucky to have any sort of budget, but you can still do a lot with nothing or very, very little. So let's see here. Let me see what my next. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is leveraging organic reach. So this is something, even though I have a high budget at UBT, I don't use it very often. I use it mostly for events and for things that are like super impactful, but most of the time I'm only posting organic stuff. So that means creating engaging content. And how do you do that? You kind of have to test, right? So you have to put a couple of different pieces of content together, see what your audience likes the best. For me, anytime there is a UBT employee in a post, it's going to go gangbuster, without a doubt. If I get Angie Muehlheisen in a post, gangbuster, that's going to break all my records. So yeah, just kind of doing a little bit of testing. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can, you can just try some stuff. If it's weird, people are going to be like, well, that's weird, and move on. So it's okay if you try some things that don't really work out. I love consistency. It is my Clifton strengths number one. I really think you have to build a consistent content calendar. And I'm not talking like every day you should be posting something. If it's once a week or twice a month, whatever consistency looks like to you, that's great. So just kind of pick what you can manage, and definitely pick something that's when you think about it, you're like, well, that's not really enough. Start there. You know, if it's once a week, twice a month, that's perfect. It's a perfect place to start. And then you can kind of build up over time, see how things are going. I don't recommend anybody start with like right out of the bat, you're posting every day, 3 times a day or whatever. Definitely start small and work your way up. Like I said, people love people. So the more you can get like your real people in posts, the better, whether that's, you know, customers or clients or employees or whomever. If it's a real person, people are going to love that. Um, Definitely be on the audience, sorry, the platform your audience is on. So I'm sure, you know, everyone knows that Facebook is kind of a catch all, but definitely more for like the Gen X's and boomer population. You know, that's just kind of where they hang out. Millennials are kind of all over the place, mostly Instagram, still some on Facebook. If you're targeting Gen Z, you might have to consider TikTok. And that pains me to say because I am not a TikTok fan. So you just, yeah, you gotta figure out where your audience is and meet them where they're at. And then, yeah, just looking again at your posts. So if you try some things and you're wondering, like, oh, which post, I mean, you probably could tell pretty quickly when a post performs very well. But, you know, just keep an eye on it and see what people are engaging with or liking with. Okay, so can I explain the difference between organic and social? Yeah, or organic and paid? Yes. So organic is just the stuff that you post on the feed or in the grid or whatever. There's no money behind it. Paid advertising is what you would do through like the Meta suite, mostly. And that is where you know, put money behind things and target specific if you can. I can't because banks aren't allowed to do that, but if you target specific age ranges, interests, and all of that. Boosting is different than a paid ad. I probably at one point in time knew the difference. I think there's just a little bit less capabilities when you boost it, but it essentially functions the same. You can just put a small amount of money behind whatever, or a large, whatever. But we're talking small here. You can put some money behind it. It'll give you a little bit of targeting parameters. I sometimes will boost posts that I see that are doing well. And I'm like, oh, this could use a little bit of extra oomph behind it. But I boost events. All of our events get boosted. Those aren't really technically an ad. I think it's just a different way that Meta describes it, to be honest. I think it started out as like boosting, and then eventually everything moved into the Meta suite, advertising suite. So, yeah, I hope that answers that question. But I think I do talk a little bit about boosting a little bit. Yes, we'll talk about boosting more as we come up. Okay, let's see what's next. So, you have this great piece of content, hopefully with a beautiful smiling employee face in it, that they're talking about how much they love the company, the organization, the customers, you know, they're whatever. So now you have this great piece of content. Now you have to actually engage with people that are engaging with you, because people want to be engaged with. And it's also like, I find that people just feel like they're really cool when the brand like engages with them. I mean, I'm that way too. Like if I, you know, comment to a brand and they reply or repost my story or whatever, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a celebrity. So definitely be in comments. Like if people are leaving comments, I wouldn't say you have to reply to every comment that you get, but you know, at least interacting with it, you know, hearting the comment or liking it, or you know, simple things like that show people that you are actually reading and watching what they're saying. User generated content is something that I used to love at the first company I worked for. It was a retail business, and so I was getting an influx of like customer pictures of, you know, what they were using the products on, and people love showing off what they're working on. So if you are in a space that is, you know, maybe a little bit more retail, trying to generate free content from people that are just like already posting about your brand, and just asking them like, hey, can I reshare this? Again, they're going to feel like a celebrity, they're going to feel like an influencer, and you don't typically have to pay them if you're just like, wow, this is really great, can I share it? So that's a, and again, it's a person in a post, it's something relatable to your audience, and hopefully free. So that's a really great way to get some more content that you yourself don't actually have to create. You could have, like, if your organization has volunteers or like there's a board, making sure that your volunteers are going in and interacting with your page, commenting on posts, sharing your posts, sharing it with their networks. That's a really great free way to spread your message a little bit farther. There is a caveat to that of like, you don't want me commenting on like every single post, like, wow, this is amazing. Like, have them share, the things that are relevant or things that are timely, or, maybe they comment once and then they share once, or however you want to work that out. And usually people are pretty good about like, well, I'm not going to share every post that you do. Cross promoting is also a super great way to help other businesses or organizations kind of in your niche if you are a sharing kind of community. So, like, for example, I'm probably not going to share posts from FMBO, but if you're two nonprofits that serve the same general population of people, sharing their posts is really great. It builds some really good morale. And then again, you're just sending it to another new audience. Sure, there's probably some crossover, but there's probably other people at the other organization that don't follow you or don't know about you or whatever. And having sharing is a good way to help get more eyeballs for free. So that's all what this is all about. How can we get more free eyeballs? That sounded weird. Don't. You will find that I say these weird random things. So we'll just keep going. Okay, so if you have a budget, even if it's $25, okay, $25 can go a long way. So if you have even $25, you have to spend it wisely, right? Because $25 is probably like maybe 2 or 3 posts that you could boost. For example, if you have that low of a budget, we're sticking to boosting. We're not going to do a paid ad through the Meta Suite. It's just too much work, in my opinion. So figuring out what is your priority. Are you trying to get volunteers for your nonprofit? Are you trying to maybe you have a new product launch and you want to get that in front of a certain demographic? Are you having an event and you want to get event registrations? So just kind of sitting down and thinking about what is the priority and where to funnel that money. Again, boosting something that's high performing, even $5, boosting it for $5 is going to go a long way usually. And then don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if you have $25, in my opinion, don't spend that $25 all on one thing. So like, take $5 out, spend it, on a different post, put 10 in a different area, put 10 on an event. So make sure there's a little bit of diversification. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so we're nearing this. I think this is my last slide. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. The biggest thing I can tell you, again, social is hard, but it absolutely does not have to be polished or perfect. If you have Canva and you want to put like some sort of branding elements in your posts, fine. But honest to God, you can just, take some photos on your iPhone and upload them, and that's amazing. And most people won't notice or care that, they're clearly shot from an iPhone. Like earlier today, UBT had their longevity lunch, and I took about 50 photos on my phone of people in front of a backdrop and holding up paper signs saying how many years they have worked for the bank. And all of those photos are going to go on social media tomorrow. They're from my phone. Like, it doesn't have to be anything that's it doesn't have to be crazy polished. It doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it is a little bit imperfect, it's almost better because you seem more real. Definitely engage with your community. Those are your advocates, especially those, because getting people to engage and comment and share your social media it's hard. It's harder than it was 10 years ago, for sure. Before, it was like you get a comment and you're in everybody's timelines everywhere. But now it's like pulling teeth sometimes to get engagement. So if people are taking the time to engage with you, definitely engage with them and make them feel special and, like a celebrity. Um, Work on your organic content. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be every week. Whatever works best for you. I have found that when I've talked to especially nonprofits, they're like, "Well, I'm just like, I do everything. I do the website and I do emails and I'm trying to get donations and I don't have time for social." And I'm like, you could do a post a month. Sure, it's easy. Just take a picture of what you're doing, take a picture of an event you go to, take a picture of, if you get a delivery of something, if you are sorting, I don't know, diapers for a diaper drive, take a picture of that, put it up on social. It will take you 5 seconds. So I think sometimes people have this mentality of that not only is social hard, but it's time consuming, and it doesn't have to be. If you kind of like look around at, they may seem like mundane tasks to you because you're like, well, every day, like, I get this delivery, but like maybe your audience thinks it's really cool that you got this big delivery of stress balls, or I don't know, whatever. So just kind of keep an eye out for things that are happening day to day around your company or organization, and take a picture of it, put up a simple caption. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be thought provoking, it doesn't have to be multiple paragraphs. It could just be like, wow, look at this, look at our new stress balls that we got in today. That's it. And people are gonna engage with it, I promise. If you can get by with a very small budget, there are ways to work around it. I like $25. It doesn't feel like a lot, right? But sometimes it's just literally not in the budget. But sometimes if you just ask for $25 and then you can prove how good, the $25 took you, maybe you'll get a little bit more. You never know. But I mean, really, in the scope of things, like, that's not a ton of money. So if you can squeeze out just a little bit, especially for like an event or, something where you want to get a lot of eyeballs on the post or the whatever, even a little bit of money is going to be super helpful. But you can, again, do it without a budget too. But yeah, so I think that's all that I have. I talk very quickly, and am a little bit rambly. So I would love if you guys have questions, or if you have something specific that you have questions or need help with, I would love to do that. If anybody has anything.
Bree, with brand consistency and on
Mhm.
different platforms, what should businesses keep consistent every single time when they're posting?
That's a good question. I think that is it. It can be up to you. If you want to just like stick your logo on a photo, that's great. I don't. I say that, and I don't actually really love when people put logos on photos, just of like random photos. Whether it be like iPhone and even Canva, and there's so many like photo editing apps nowadays that you can save presets on. And if you just like, that's what I do with the banks. If I take photos on my phone, I have a couple of presets that I just edit the photo so that the lighting and the texture and all of that of the photos is somewhat consistent. That is also great. If you have a designer on hand, even better. They can, I am very lucky that I have a designer, so she makes sure that everything is consistent and on brand. But, even if it's just like, for example, we share educational blogs all the time on our social. And she kind of developed a template that has the photo of the blog so that when they click through, they recognize it. And then just has like the blog title on the other side of it. And she just swaps out the title, swaps out the photo, pretty easy. You can certainly do that in Canva too. So even if you just spend a little bit of time in Canva, I'm assuming that if you don't have a social media budget, you don't have Photoshop. But yeah, just going in Canva and just kind of making yourself a little template. They have templates on Canva. So if you just find one that you really like, apply your brand colors and then keep reusing it, that's a really good way to um, stay consistent with branding too.
So if someone's just starting out and needs to start on a social media platform, which platform would you suggest would be the easiest to start with?
That's a very great question. Facebook is my default easy. I think just because it's been around for so long and most people have Facebook. Um, and you can get away with doing, how do I want to phrase this? You can get away with trying things on Facebook a little bit easier. Instagram, has kind of a more of an algorithm and style to Instagram. So, but if you were targeting Gen Z, elder Gen Zs, for example, college age kids, they're going to be on Instagram. They're probably not on Facebook. So I would start with either both of those or one of those, depending on your audience. Um, Instagram is also kind of a good place. I mean, you can throw weird stuff on Instagram too, and people are just going to scroll right by it and be like, "Well, that was weird," but whatever, and keep going. So, um, yeah, I think it really just depends on who you're trying to target and where you start. Like I said, Facebook is kind of my default, like easy, just slap it up there and it'll be okay. Um, but yeah, Instagram is also a good place to start too if that's who you're looking to target.
And then can you explain the difference between what a social media post versus a story is and
Mhm.
how long do they actually remain on your sites that you would post on then too?
Yeah. So, an actual post on the grid on Instagram is going to stay forever until you hide it or delete it. I don't recommend doing either one of those, unless it's like, unless you're getting like completely roasted, then yeah, maybe take it down. But um, I just have a policy that if it's up forever. Um, so yeah, the a static post, it can either be just a photo or a carousel of photos or a video um, with text or without text. And then a story is um, the like when you're on Instagram, it pops it up onto the top. Those are up for 24 hours. So those are great if you are doing like a Q&A and you want people's feedback, or if you are looking for user generated content and you can post in the story like, hey, do you have a photo, send us a DM or whatever. Those are really great for just like quick attention. I feel like now more than anything people are in stories on Instagram. I know personally for me, like if I when I get home and I start my couch rat, I'm starting with Instagram stories. So that's also something to keep in mind. I try to always share a grid post into the story so that people see, oh, look, there's a new post, and hopefully they'll actually click it and read it. So, yeah, they're just a little bit different way of consuming content, and some people definitely will just scroll their feed, and that's perfect. And some are stuck in stories, so I feel like doing both is kind of a good catch-all.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. If you have any questions, please just go ahead and put them in the chat. In the meantime, I just wanted to thank everybody again for your time today of coming out and joining us on this webinar, and hope that you're able to take something away and start using within your social media posts, and that it's helped a little bit for you to move forward with the efforts of how everything is going and moving forward in technology and social media, especially. Thank you, Bree, so much for your time and your help today, too, and explaining all of this wonderful information to us. We greatly appreciate it. Just real quick as well, just wanted to remind you that we will be sending out the webinar link to you and the presentation information that was discussed today, so that way you have it for a future reference. Also in that email, there will be a link to sign up for our business newsletter. If you are already not signed up for the newsletter, it's a great way to know about different programs that we have going on, like the Learning Lab with Union Bank and Trust, and a couple of other companies too that we have coming up here next week and the beginning of June too that we're excited about. So check those out, as well as any of our in-person events that we have. And then also just a short survey link will also be included in that email too. Your feedback is what we need so we can continue improving upon these webinars and our events, but also giving you exactly what you would like to see as well too. So we appreciate all of that information. Again, we hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon and evening, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon at another event. Take care.